Okay, so Michael's staring down down the wife, or down, I'm sorry, down his daughter-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
The grandma lady.
no, that's his wife, okay. The grandma lady. Um, he basically decides he's I'm going to kill you, and actually he said, where's your father? I'll kill you to find this answer out. So his son's like, Dad, I don't know what you think you're doing. His son is a giant, big, huge dude like Goliath. His son comes at him and he just breaks the kid's jaw, just shatters his whole jaw. And I say kid, but he's a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's never felt pain before. He's a Nephilim, and so he just like withers the floor, like, oh my God, what is this? This is pain. I've never felt pain because he's a Nephilim. Um, his wife's like, don't grab it. In fact, I think the way I originally had it written was the mom, his wife tries to stop it, and he like snaps her neck, and the son is like, Mom, and he comes at his dad, and his dad shatters his jaw, and then
he goes after his wife, which is
yeah. So basically, he shatters his jaw, and on his way down, he grabs his shoulder and breaks it. And then the wife is like, oh my God, Vladimir, I got to get to my son. And she jumps up and she tries to use her like a prenatal I can't believe I can't pronounce it right now. Okay, her like super speed, and she goes to brake, but she doesn't have that speed. And Michael reaches over, grabs her by the hair, and he's like, "Where do you think you're going? Where do you think you're going?" And he's shaking her.
Like way up here, though.
Yeah, he's lifted her off the ground. He's like, "Where do you think you're going?" And she's like being tossed around like a rag doll. And like through her vision, she's like, or she says, man, in her mind, she's like, I really hope my son got away. I hope he ran. But like as her vision is shaking, she can see the outline of Vladimir standing in the doorway with the sword in his hand. And so he has the same exact eyes as Michael. So he knows what this he knows what this is.
What, Vladimir?
No, Michael.
That's
Michael knows. So Michael didn't know Vladimir existed. Okay, so if you read Vengeance, I talk about how God came out and decreed there will be no more vampires, no more natural born vampires, and there can only be 100 on the earth at any given time. Angels and demons will no longer procreate, or angels and the fallen, and humans. Right away, he realized that the covenant had been broken, and so he just rips this girl in half. He doesn't even care to listen to the story about her father, nothing. He just rips her in half. And Vladimir just snaps. He's like, ah! And he runs, 13 years old. He jumps in the air, the sword, and Michael just snatches him up by the neck because he has no power. Vladimir's lost all his power. And he's like, he's doing one of those where he's looking at the kid and he's like, pathetic. And he literally he throws him like this and sends him flying through the wall, straight through the wall. He's got like a board stuck in his leg, and while he was being held up, he wouldn't moan, he wouldn't cry, nothing. He was just staring back in his eyes. He gets thrown through the wall. He's got a plank through his leg, and he refuses to scream. He's like, "I'm not crying. I'm not screaming." He has never felt pain either, so this is new for him too. His dad like drags himself up off the ground. He's like, and all Vladimir hears is, and his dad gets his back snapped in half by Michael, by his own father. So that is why Vladimir hates Michael so much in Vengeance. I don't actually talk about why he hates him so much. That is why he hates him. And then, we move forward to Vengeance. The Ensleys, Kristoff, Tariq, Drake, all those guys. And then we move forward to Slayers, which is what happens right after Vengeance. Now, my problem is I want to write both books at the same time, the prequel and Slayers. That is my problem. primarily because people paid for Slayers with the Kickstarter, but I'm kind of at a loss because it'll be really difficult to write Slayers without writing the prequel, unless we do it like Spartacus and we just say to hell with it. We'll write the prequel later. You know.
You might be able to like twist some shit too and make it all tie in better that way.
True. So Slayers, a lot of fun. I've had a lot of time to think about it. It's going to wrap up the werewolves, you know, the werewolves on Earth. It's going to tie them in. It's going to tie in, you know, these five or so people that are endowed with special powers from the time that God came down with his decree about you can't have more than 100 vampires. So when Tariq and Drake's coven start to create more vampires for this army, Slayers start coming online, so to speak.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If that what we were just talking about with like the storming the gates of heaven and everything is the prequel to Vengeance, that means Anubis couldn't have won.
Anubis hasn't fought yet.
Did that come in Slayers?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm actually throwing up in the air Slayers and then a fourth book, which is the War in Heaven, so to speak. It's going to be the zombie apocalypse here on Earth, and the gates of heaven getting stormed by Anubis. So Lucifer just
So it doesn't ever happen in that first book. He never gets around to doing that.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't get to storm the gates.
How do we end that book? How do we tie that book off? To flow into Vengeance.
You got me, buddy. You got me. As far as tying off the prequel book, the prequel novel, it will have to end with Vladimir being dismantled, and then when Michael
can't
leaves,
dismantle him completely because
right?
in
Well,
the second book he reappears.
Well, when Michael leaves, his regenerative powers restore, and he's good to go. He now has a vengeance against, or vendetta against Michael. We have that will basically be the end of the first one.
So after Vladimir gets thrown into the wall and everything, that's the end of Vladimir's story until Vengeance starts up?
Correct.
Okay.
Vengeance happens, the end of Vengeance, Vladimir's got what he needs to call Michael back to Earth. You can see 8-minute mark.